Okay. All right, so now that I've started the video, I'm going to do attendance and I'll be right with you. Everybody should be watching the cellular respiration video. Why would it let me? Okay. All right. According to Go Guardian, everybody's here, but everybody's not watching the video. I'm missing one person. Everybody's not here. Hmm. All right, I'm gonna have to come back and do attendance later. Attendance won't load for me. Okay, something's up with Infinite Campus, so I will worry about that later. Okay, now everything is gone. Mm-mm. Huh. Y'all there? Okay. All right. I got that Zoom crashed. Are y'all still there? You finished watching the video? Okay, good. I'm trying to share. Every time I try to share the Zoom, I get this message that Zoom is about to crash. Give me 1 second to try to pull this up. I couldn't get Infinite Campus to work. Nothing's working for me today. All right, and my share screen is black again. Oh, there it is. All right, are you seeing my share screen, or is it black? You see it? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Kendall. You always. Okay. All right. So we've been talking about cellular respiration, and that is the equation with glucose plus oxygen yields carbon dioxide and water. And really, it should be glucose plus oxygen with some enzymes because this reaction doesn't take place all by itself. It needs some help. And so we were at least talked about the first two stages of cellular respiration. So the first stage was glycolysis. So if we, I don't know what is happening with my computer today. Uh-oh, there I go again. Okay, okay, and I'm gonna, okay, there we go. Something is up with my computer because I clicked on it and it didn't show up on the share screen for a little while. All right, so just a review. If you click on the first box that says glycolysis, so everybody, and then you can look at my share screen or you could look at your screen. Both looking at yours probably is a better idea. You need to know that the first stage of cellular respiration is glycolysis. And the molecule that we're looking at, remember, this is all about getting energy. So cellular respiration is about getting energy inside, how energy is produced inside the cell on a cellular level. So just a little backtrack. Plants make food during photosynthesis, they make glucose. And then animals eat the plants and they eat the animals that eat the plants. And then that's how we get the glucose. So when we had lunch today, we got our store of glucose. And now the job of the body is to break that glucose down so that we can get energy. We don't eat just because we like to eat. We eat because we have to eat so that we can get energy. All right, so the first stage is to take that glucose, which is a 6-carbon sugar. So again, you need to be familiar with that formula, C6H12O6. And we're going to break it down into two 3-carbon molecules. So it's going from a 6-carbon molecule to two 3-carbon molecules, and we call those pyruvic acid. So they're not glucose anymore, they're pyruvic acid. It took some energy to do that. Everything you do, even on a cellular level, requires energy. So it took two ATP molecules in order to get this process started. But at the end of that process, we made 4 ATPs. Okay, so we have to keep track of all the ATPs that we're making. And at the end of the day, we need to know that there are 38 ATPs altogether. It's 36, but we used two. If you count the two that we used to get started, that would be 38. All right. So, and I know this sounds like a lot of math just now. Okay. So, in this little, and you might want to write this box down because this is a summary box and and it'll help you keep track of what's going on. So this is I think it's a good idea that you write this box down. So when you're taking a test, you have notes in front of you that you can look at. This is a good summary box. So glycolysis, the first stage, is happening in the cytoplasm. And this is where the food has entered the cell. And before it even gets to the mitochondria, we've already taken this glucose and digested it. And in that process, we create two ATPs, we create two NADPH. Remember, that's an enzyme. And we made that glucose two pyruvate molecules. So that's the first stage. So again, I would be making a copy of this chart. And then it starts you off with the second stage, which is the Krebs cycle. So we got as far as that with our Nearpod lesson. All right, so when we did the parts of the cell, all the organelles of the cell, one of the organelles was the mitochondria. And we said the mitochondria is the energy factory. All these organelles have a job to do. The job of the mitochondria is to create energy. So now we've taken these two pyruvate molecules, they're going to the mitochondria, and we're going to break them down. And as a result of breaking down these two pyruvate molecules, we create two more ATP. We create 8 NADH. We create two FADH2, which is another enzyme. And we also create carbon dioxide. So in our respiration process, this is where we're releasing carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere. So our respiration formula is glucose plus oxygen yields carbon dioxide and water. This is where the carbon dioxide gets produced and released, and we don't see it anymore in our process. The water, on the other hand, we release water as water vapor, but some of that water is used to, you see all those H's that just showed up on the end of molecules. Some of that water is used in those processes. Okay. All right. So we got glycolysis, and I'm going to bet that this thing is going to be on the next page. So step 2, and I'm going to switch to step 2. Step 2 is the Krebs cycle. So based on your box, and they just repeated it here. The Krebs cycle occurs in the mitochondria, and it creates these energy carrying molecules that are needed for the electron transport chain. Okay, and this is where also we're going to need all those hydrogens and things I was talking about. All right, we good, everybody, at least this far? All right, so the third part is called the electron transport chain. And this is where we stopped, I think, with the video with the Nearpod. All right, so we haven't really made the bulk of the ATP molecules yet. So we're still in the mitochondria. And then we're at this stage now. Let me see if they're going to give you. Okay, let's look at this. All right, it says there are two stages that happen. So again, this is where we're going to use the water molecules. And the electron transport chain group is embedded in the inner membrane of the cell membrane. So let me scoot down here to this picture for a minute. So this is what they're saying. The cell membrane has these channels in it, and they are responsible now for this electron transport chain. So look, and this is a very blurry picture. All right, let me see if it was. Let me see if this video has it any clearer, because that's very blurry.
Does this look familiar? So today in this lecture, we're going to go back to
Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me stop this.
the summary that we had at the end lecture on energy. And we're going to dive into one part of that.
I want number. Okay, I don't want all those parts.
This might be one of my favorite things.
Okay, there we go.
All biology. Take a look at this and tell me, where does the electron transport chain happen? Use my little diagram as a guide, because if you look at this, you'll be like, whoa, really? Just like all our other pictures that I'm showing you, it's super complex. I'm going to draw you a picture of it in Wendy style, but this is taking place in the cell membrane of the mitochondria itself. It's actually taking place in that inner folded mitochondrial membrane. And the intermembrane space between my two membranes is really important to the function of the electron transport chain. All right, let's draw a picture. Here's what I'm going to tell you. We might as well have some visual that allows us to appreciate the fact that all of our electron carriers are going to the electron transport chain. They're headed there. They're on their way. And we're going to draw a picture of what they're going to find. Hey, can't go that way. There's no paper there. Draw a picture. Ready? And it's color coded. And it's color coded to match the other images that I've drawn elsewhere. Okay, I'm going to draw, I can't help it. I'm going to draw you a mitochondria. And here are my two membranes. Are you in agreement? And I'm taking a little slice like this. Okay, so I've got my cytoplasm up here. My outer mitochondrial membrane is purple. And look at how I'm going to draw my blue inner mitochondrial membrane. I'm just going to draw it in a flat line. And I'm going to do that just so you can visualize that I've just taken a little slice. And this flat line actually, even though it actually is curving, I've zoomed in so much that it appears to be a flat line. Now, inside here is the mitochondrial matrix. And in between these, remember, is the intermembrane space. Intermembrane space. All right. And all of these are important anatomical locations to understand the function. Who was coming to this electron transport chain shirt emitter? Well, our electron carriers. And what did they have? There were 12 of them. And every single one of them is carrying 2 electrons. So watch. And there are 12 of them. 12 of them coming to do a job. I want you to look at this. I'm going to draw a totally diagrammatic view of a set of proteins that are embedded in the inner mitochondrial membrane. I'm going to draw another one right now while we're at it because I can't help it. This one is just about the coolest thing that ever existed. I'm going to draw it in here now, and then I'll tell you what happens to it. The thing is so awesome. All right, watch. First of all, in comes an electron carrier. The electron carrier delivers these high energy electrons, hands them off. It's like, hey, electron transport chain protein, I'm going to hook you up with some high energy electrons. First thing that happens. This protein's like, rock on. I'm cool with that. Go ahead and hand me those high energy electrons. And then those high energy electrons, makes sense they have energy in them. Guess what this guy does? This protein captures some of the energy in those high energy electrons and says, okay, I'm going to use some energy to do some work. And the work that is going to be done is super random. Well, it'll appear random to you. You're going to be like, dude, really? What is this? The energy in the high energy electrons is going to be used to pump hydrogen ions into the intermembrane space. And they're going in against their concentration gradient. That's how you know it's going to require energy. Who's providing the energy? The high energy electrons that came from these carriers. I think of it as passing these electrons downhill. Now watch. This first protein uses a little bit of energy from these high energy electrons and passes them off to the next protein, which then captures, there's energy that is released. I think of it, I draw them to have like kind of a potential energy, like you're passing these electrons downhill. And so if you're losing potential energy in these electrons as you pass them from protein to protein. I guarantee that there is a very clear chemical explanation for this. I just think of it as passing them downhill. And when you pass them downhill, energy is released, and we capture that energy and use it to pump protons into this intermembrane space. My second buddy is going to do exactly the same thing. Using the energy that comes out of these high energy electrons, going to pass down, get orange over the can, there we go. Pass them down. And each time we're releasing a little bit of energy that is captured and used to pump more protons into this intermembrane space. Really? Is anybody like going, why are we doing this? Fine. Let me tell you. Oh my gosh, this is a true story. This is not a windification. Now we've got a whole bunch of protons in this space. And where do they want to go? They're like, proton party. I'm sick of this party. Get me out of here. They want to get out. And this molecule is called ATP synthase. ATP synthase. You're going to think I'm lying, and I'm not. It's like a water wheel. It spins. And it spins in a circle when every time a hydrogen ion passes through it, there's a little thing in there that spins. And when it spins, guess what it does? Oh my gosh, this is so amazing. It takes ADP plus E and it produces I'm not lying. This is what really happened. Oh my gosh, that is so phenomenal. So every time hydrogen ions We had 12 of these guys. And that's awesome. We can actually keep half electrons on as long as we have a fine acceptor. I'm telling you, oxygen. And I just keep on deciding I can't decide. That is my fine electron acceptor. And I want you to think about this for just a second. It's why you breathe. It's why you need oxygen at all, because you need oxygen to be the final electron acceptor. If oxygen grabs those two electrons, it'll also grab a couple of random hydrogen ions here. And ultimately, this is so this that are you serious? Take a look at your equation and you will see that water is one of the byproducts and oxygen is required. If you don't have oxygen as your final electron acceptor, you're going to get a walk-in and your electron, your high energy electron carriers aren't going to have anywhere to put their electrons. So the whole thing's going to back up. You're not going to get all that energy because it is anaerobic respiration, not aerobic. As long as you have oxygen, you've got aerobic respiration going on.
Okay. She is so dramatic. All right. But hopefully you got the general idea. The second stage of glycolysis, which was the Krebs cycle, and notice on here they're calling it the citric acid cycle. So I remember that I asked you all to put those two words side by side. So the Krebs cycle is sometimes called the citric acid cycle because the molecule that it creates is actually citric acid. And in doing so, it's creating those electrons. And we call, so you wrote down that it created FADH2 and NADH. Those were our carriers that she mentioned. There's 12 of those carriers that, let me make that small. Okay. Let's go back up to, okay, let me come back over here for a minute. All right, so you made this chart. So you made all of these. So this is where she's getting the 12 from, and they're carrying energy. Okay. And so they bring all that energy to this cycle. So there's actually like a conveyor belt where the energy is gone, goes through, and it takes those hydrogen ions that are being broken down by the water that you took in the first place. And when I not that you took in, when you break down the glucose, one of the byproducts that it's going to break down into is water. So then you're going to take those hydrogens. So oxygen is going to, and you need to think of water as HOH instead of H2O. So those hydrogens are doing something, and then the oxygen is going to do something else. So the oxygen, like she said, is going to be available to be your electron receptor. And then the hydrogens are going to be there to be collected again to create this water molecule. Again, at the end of respiration, we exhale water vapor, okay, as well as carbon dioxide. All right, a couple of things you need to remember about that as well, like she was pointing out, is that the mitochondria is located in the cytoplasm of the cell. And this is actually going on inside the mitochondria. So this is what the factory looks like inside if you blow it up. And the end product is that it creates the ATP molecule. The whole point of this is to create an energy molecule. Okay? It needs to create this energy molecule. Any questions about that? I just lost somebody. All right, so let's move on to this next step. So she mentioned that requires oxygen. So the two words you have to remember are aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration requires oxygen. And this is the process that goes on normally as long as you have oxygen. If there's no oxygen present, this is going to go on, but then, like she said, there's no hydrogen receptor. So it goes into anaerobic respiration, which is done without the presence of oxygen. So we call that fermentation. And there's two types of fermentation. I believe they did that in the video that we saw the other day. Okay. So yeast and most organisms create ethyl alcohol as a process of anaerobic respiration. In our bodies, in our cells, we create lactic acid. And then we store it up. And then eventually, if we need the energy later on and when the oxygen is available, then we have to break down this lactic acid uh, again. All right, so let's look at this. The alcohol, again, this is not going to happen. And it's going to happen in yeast and bacteria. And this is a process, as he said, where you make beer or wine. So you might have heard that word fermentation before in making alcohol. I mean, like gin and whiskey and stuff like that. Okay, so again, it's showing you out in the cytoplasm, the glucose is being broken down. You have glycolysis, you have which breaks it down to pyruvic acid, and then without the presence of without the presence of oxygen, you're going to create these two ethyl alcohol molecules and just two ATP. Not a lot of ATP. We don't want this. This is not a high energy situation. That's not going to do us any good. Okay. All right. Then we have lactic acid over here. And again, we're storing it. So if there is oxygen present, you're going to create two lactic acid molecules and two ATP. And again, we're storing it. It's not producing a lot of ATP. Remember, when we have aerobic respiration, we actually created the 30 ATP, which is a lot of energy, which is what we need. Take a few minutes to go through this. This is like a check your understanding activity. Do this one for a few minutes. Look at your notes. Cellular respiration is a lot. All right, so these three are actually in order of stages. So glycolysis is our first stage. The Krebs cycle is our second stage. And electron transport chain is our third stage. And the way to remember, kind of give yourself a little clue to remember. During glycolysis, we split the glucose. During Krebs cycle, you're creating enzymes, but you're also releasing uh, during during the Krebs cycle, you're creating energy carriers and you're releasing carbon dioxide. And during the last stage, you're producing all of the ATP that you need. Okay, so that's the way to kind of keep that in the back of your head. All righty, take a look at what you need to know. All right, so again, the difference between aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration is that aerobic respiration is going to produce 36 ATPs. That's where you're going to get all your energy from aerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration just has no oxygen, and it's only going to produce 2 ATPs. All right, you need to know your equation. Glucose plus oxygen yields water and carbon dioxide and energy. And if you need to recognize that as a chemical equation as well, so it would be C6H12. O6 is glucose plus O2 for oxygen yields CO2 and H2O. So make sure you can recognize an equation also. This occurs in the mitochondria. Remember, the first part starts in the cytoplasm, but the actual energy factory part of it is in the mitochondria. Another name for anaerobic respiration is fermentation. And there's two types. There's lactic acid fermentation and alcohol fermentation. Okay. Any questions about that? Thoroughly confused? Oops, computer again. Okay. Go to the next thing that's published for you. My screen just went black again. See if you can download the, there you go. Is it showing for you? Is it stop being black? See if you can download the PDF form of the study guide. You have to download it all the time. Is it allowing you to download? There we go. It's blocked. Okay, I'm gonna have to do like I did the last time. I don't understand why these are always blocked. It's in the module, it shouldn't be blocked. But let me see what I can do here. I'm going to upload it as an assignment in an assignment folder. So I'm gonna stop sharing for a minute so I can do that. I got totally kicked out of the class. All right, so now you might need to refresh. So let's see if we can find this on your home page. It's not there. All right, I don't want to. You should be looking for something that says, stop doing this. Student cellular respiration review. Let me know if you see it. Again, I don't understand why, if it's embedded in module. Okay, it says unpublished. So why is it unpublished? Published. Okay. All right, it's published now. Okay. All right, it's published. All right, so you're looking for something that says cellular respiration study guide. So I can share again so we can look at it. Okay, so are you able to open it now? Well, my screen is blank, but it's coming. Okay, hold on. And my screen keeps going black. I don't know why. I'll share it again. My screen keeps going black and then it's freezing and having some issues here. Let me show this one. This. It's a restart screen. to show it from here. It's a Zoom issue. I keep getting this message about my Zoom needing to restart. All right, it won't let me share. Let's see. But it's there. All right, so what you need to do, I'll try to open it again. Okay. All right. Is anybody able to open it? You're looking for something that says cellular energy respiration study guide. Let me see if I do this as a student view. Let's see it. It still says blocked. I don't want you to open it from, I created an assignment folder. So let me come out of this and come back in and, oh, this is crazy. Okay. It is in the module. Okay. And it should be in the module now because I'm seeing it on your to-do list. Okay, so you look at your to-do list and you click on the last thing on the to-do list should say cellular energy study guide. Click on that. Now, when I click on it, it should open. For some reason, something's wrong with Zoom. It's not allowing me to share. Every time it does, it keeps going in and out. But work on that page. We're almost out of time, but that's the page you need to work on. Okay. So everything on this study guide you need to be prepared for. Let's say for Thursday, to test on Thursday. This will be an end of unit test, so we'll do a review of this page and test on Thursday. Okay. Now I guess the weather's got everything going wacky, wacky. All right, we all good? Everybody have it? Is there anybody who that wasn't able to get it to pull up? All right, so you've got and pull it up. Pull it up as a document that you can write on. Because the way I entered it, you can get a grade just for doing the study guide. So make sure you complete the study guide. Okay. There's So right now I have it at 20, but it's about 35 points worth of answers on here. Okay. All right, so take the next few minutes to make sure that you can access it and get started on it. Any questions? Any questions? So again, complete the worksheet. We'll try to go over it for next class so that you can upload it and get credit for doing your study guide. And we're testing the unit on Thursday. Notes are allowed. So if you complete the study guide, yes, you can use your study guide on the test.